Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Hello, respected viewers, once again with another episode in this great land, in the land of Hussein, land of Abbas in Karbala. We are with you, and we are going to talk about the book which contains quotes of Commander of Faithful Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam inside it, but in another word, let's say. Um, we are going to open another chapter and discuss about it to see how the quotes of Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam has given us a better point of view, a better idea of how to live for any person, not only those religious people, even for those who don't believe in God, as you mentioned exactly, and as you just noticed in the previous episode. Uh, Brother Ali, I would like to say salam to you once again and thank you for accepting our invitation and being here with us.
Alaikum assalam, and thank you for having me. And again, in the name of God, you know, I always say this: it is only by the grace of God and by the love of God for us that we can even think to be in these positions.
Inshallah, Alhamdulillah. Um, Talking about another chapter of your book, we see that there is a chapter with the title Our Essential Makeup. It is so obvious, it's clear, crystal clear that it is talking about the core of a person, how he has been built and created, and what is he going to do in future and where he is going to go. Anyway, but the quotation and the code that you have brought here under this title, which says authority, power, or health, don't change a man, they only reveal him. From Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. There is a connection actually between the topic and the quote actually, but I would like you to describe a little bit more that why you have chosen this quote for this title, or why have you used this title for this quote?
Okay. So the chapter is discussing a follow-up of what we discussed
Yeah,
in a
the
previous
essential
episode.
makeup, yeah.
Right. So, like you said very clearly, the title is self-explanatory, and it basically says that each person has an essential makeup, the essence of each person. What is the essence? It's how powerfully the core of this person is being guided by the ego or against the ego. Is the ego suppressed in this person to a maximum amount, or is the ego controlling and influencing every decision of this person? So it's a very straightforward title, and the chapter is pretty much about this topic. Now, I thought of putting that quote in there because the quote really stood out to me, and sometimes in my writing, it is the quote that makes the chapter as opposed to the chapter that makes the quote, and sometimes the quote fortifies my ideas in the chapter. In this case, this quote sat with me, it stuck to me kind of, and I had it, you know, sitting in a file on its own in my computer, and I continuously was thinking to write about how I can relate to this quote because it was a powerful quote to me. And finally I did. And so I think the quote itself, the way I understand and read the quote is, the Imam says, when, you know, the reason the Imam used those three specific things to discuss a person and their abilities and their capacity is because I think authority, power, and wealth are the three accessories that allow you to really go towards the ego's desires or to really suppress it. They're very powerful accessories.
I would like to just to interrupt you, sorry for this very moment, by asking this question. Sometimes, for example, let's think that, okay, I don't have any money and I want to do lots of great things. And let's say, for example, I'm not a good person at the moment. I am a robber, for example, okay, I steal things from the others. And I say that, okay, it's because I'm not wealthy, I don't have money, so I have to rob. But if I have so much money, then I'm not going to rob anymore. So it is not going to reveal my, my personality. It's going to change me. So how can we just join between these facts and the coat of Commander of Faithful, or there's something else, a secret inside it?
Right. So what you just said is something that there are some books by some very famous authors who bring up comparable examples of people stealing for necessity, and how to relate to that legally and compassionately and whatnot. And I don't understand how we can say that, because when you are going to decide to steal or rob someone of whatever it is so that you satisfy your own urge, you are already not submitting to the will of the guidance to the direction of heaven. Because if you are to submit to God, then what you are doing is you are automatically allowing patience to take over the situation, and not letting the ego tell you, it's okay, take this person's right, transgress on this person, abuse this person, oppress this person, or community, or institution, or whatever it is, because you need. No, it will say, you as a person have to be patient and try to find the ways in which you can reach your goal of satisfying your hunger without having to resort to the ego's influence of power here, exactly in this example. So when you do go those ways, you are again walking away from the guided path. This is where you exercise patience, which is again in most teachings, whether religious or non. I mean, we teach to be stoic, to be patient, to endure, right?
Yeah.
In times of trouble. So here, I think the issue becomes, you cannot change a person. A person, when they become wealthy, might turn around and say, okay, I'm wealthy now, I can give. I'm wealthy now, I can act, I can do good things. But what intentions do they have for the good that they're doing? What are they giving? How much are they giving in their efforts, in their money, in their time, in their knowledge, whatever it is that they're giving with? What is the percentage that they're doing? I mean, are they giving a maximal that they can from within them to maximally enjoy the pleasures of going towards that light? Or are they just giving, again, for the ego? Many people in the world do a little bit or give a little bit so that they feel better about themselves, so that somebody else sees them and says, oh, look at this person, he's helping, you know? And that's the unfortunate power of the ego on us. So what this quote is trying to explain is, you will not be able to change that factor within the person. What you will be able to do, though, is you will be able to understand that this person who has money today, who is doing the best that they can with their money to help global projects, communal projects, people around them, animals, the environment, whatever it is, to develop it for a better tomorrow, really was that person without the money as well. And if you go back into their lives, to the days without money, you will realize they were not robbing people. Now you have another person who made a lot of money, and they didn't have money before. And I'm not saying don't spend and don't enjoy your life, and if you have a lot of money, of course, become healthier. Eat healthier. Healthier food is more expensive in our world, unfortunately, because we are constrained by the resources and the prices and everything else. So healthier food is going to be more expensive. So if you have more money now, by all means, go eat healthier. But if you can have one apple and you buy 5 and throw 4 in the garbage and eat the 1, then that is your nature. You're okay with doing that. You were never going to help with the other 4 apples instead of throwing them away. That will never change within you. For that change to come, you need to understand the position you're in, understand the wrong that you're in, and turn around and turn your life around and say, okay, today I am blessed with better power, with more authority over myself, community, whatever it is, and with more money. I can now try to suppress my ego and work towards going in the right direction. after you reveal yourself to yourself. You might not be aware.
Yeah.
Like you said, when you're poor, you might say, oh, if I had money, I would not be stealing. I would not do bad things. I would be a good person. Now, God blesses you with money. Or if you want to say you're intelligent and you made money on your own, all by your own power, right? Whatever it is. At the end of the day, you're rich now. You became rich and you started spending your money on luxuries of life and forgetting your community, forgetting the necessities for your soul, not feeding your soul. One day you wake up and you say, hey, I remember when I was poor, I used to say, if I'm rich one day, I will do these things and I'll do better and I'll help and I'll feel for the poor people like I was, and I will fix and reform their lives so that they don't have to go through the troubles that I went through. Where am I? I'm not doing those things. If you can wake up on that day and say those things, you can suppress your ego. If you have those powers, then you can change yourself and say, I've revealed myself. Look, I look around me and it's very bad. I'm in a bad place. I have all the sorts of things that I don't need in my life. And you fix yourself, and then you get rid of all of this negativity in your life, and you start going back, starting from yourself and your community to globally even, and try to place the reforms that need to be in place to create a better infrastructure for tomorrow, because you are one of the best people coming from that environment who can know what needs to be done in that environment, as opposed to somebody who's never seen that environment, who's trying to help.
Okay, thank you. As we are supposed to continue this topic, but we just met the middle of this show and this, let's say, episode. Let's have a short break, and inshallah we're going to continue after the short break. Let's have a short break and then we'll be back again.
صرت مخدوم علي محبتك دوم خادم صرت مخدوم علي محبتك دوم رفعني حبك للسماء وخدمتك سلطان رفعني حبك للسماء وخدمتك سلطان يا حسين خدمتك سلطان مملوك أعيش بحضرتك للملكيتني كل شي شما أصغرك أكبر بالعشي وباسمك أبقى أمشي.
Back to the second part of this episode. We are going to start with a question about the quote of Commander of Faithful Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam in the book of Brother Ali. Brother Ali, in this quote, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, authority, power, or wealth don't change a man, they only reveal him. I would like to ask you why Commander of Faithful has chosen these three elements for revealing one's, one's behavior, one's innate, one's,
Right.
let's say, selfishness or something like
Right.
that. Why he hasn't chosen, for example, I don't know, his personality or his appearance or something like that?
Okay.
Why he has chosen this, you think?
This is a very good question, because when I told you this quote sat with me, and I had it, saved by its own for a long time until I could write about it. And one of the things that I kept coming back to was, when you read and you become very familiar with the Imam's writing style and choice of words, just like when you read the Quran over and over and over, you kind of become familiar with the type of writing, with the type of, the dialogue, the monologue that's going on. And with Imam Ali, he has a specific way of writing. He's very precise in his writing. So there are also other philosophers that I've come across who are very precise in their writing. There are philosophers who are difficult in their writing. There are some who will write 20 pages to say something that you can say in 2 pages, but it's just different styles of writing.
Yeah.
So I kept thinking, why is the Imam only using 3 things, wealth, power, and authority, in revealing a person? Then I went back to understanding the ego, and I said to myself, well, the Imam talks about being strong as suppressing the ego maximally. So what are the weapons of the ego? These three are truly weapons of the ego that show the person. So with wealth, you can easily get corrupted, you can easily go down the wrong paths. I mean, how many people in history have we seen in recent history, in the last 20 years, that have gone into abundance of wealth and passed away from an overdose of drugs? Right?
Yeah.
Many. And from different cultures. I mean, we're not just saying
Not
this happens in
only
North
some
America. It
specific
happens,
culture, yeah.
it happens from Australia to Canada.
No.
So it happens worldwide.
In any country, in any
Right.
region, you can
They
find such.
lose themselves in the money, right? So
Yeah.
this is one factor. It could go the wrong way. So the ego, when it's powerful, can use the money to influence you in the furthest, wrongest direction, to the point that you die, to the point that you are no longer able to find God, right?
Yeah.
The path to God. Authority, in the same way, when you are in a position of authority,
A higher
you can
position.
abuse that authority if you are not innately a good person.
If you have a suppressed ego before.
if you haven't suppressed the ego, then that oppressive nature of the ego is going to come out. The ego is oppressive, it's transgressive by nature.
Automatically, ego is going to use
Exactly.
this authority, this power,
Exactly.
in order to make you and
Right.
motivate you and moves you towards what he or
Right.
what it wants. Let's
Right.
say.
And so if we go into a lot of the historical examples, I mean, it's you can see prophetic examples like you know, the prophet Moses and the Pharaoh of Egypt. I
Yeah.
mean, here you have the Pharaoh, which was the symbol of the ego,
Yeah.
right?
أنا ربكم الأعلى, because he just wanted
Yes,
to be the
he-
most powerful person.
He said, I am God. There is no more above God. The meaning of the understanding of me saying I am God means there's nothing above me.
Means that I'm the highest.
It means the ego is at 100% at this
Yeah.
point, right? So this 100% of the ego is the Pharaoh. And here comes Moses guiding 100% to God. And there's a fight.
Yeah, conflict.
And right, there's a huge conflict, and obviously we know what happened and
Yeah.
who wins and who loses, and so this is authority misused. The Pharaoh is authority misused. So when you're in a position of ego, you're going to misuse your authority. But if you're in a position of trying to reach the heavens, you are not going to misuse authority. So the authority is the second weapon of the ego when the ego is showing.
Yeah.
And the third is going to be wealth, power. It's going to be
Yeah.
power. Power is very dangerous in the wrong hands. As we see today, you take any terrorist organization, you put a few guns in their hands, you give them a few dollars, what happens? Disaster everywhere around the world. Everywhere around the world, right? We see it every day on the news. So this power,
Chaos is okay.
yeah, this power given to this group is a dangerous thing. Why? Because this group is fighting for the ego. A person who engages in bad trades, you know, they, for example, you go and you see the abuse that the drug trade is creating around the world, the illegal drug trade. And you see the billions of dollars involved, and you see the power that is garnished by the mafias and all these other syndicate corporations, and you notice the troubles we're having from financial to families and worldwide. And again, this is another very powerful weapon of the ego. With this weapon, the ego can dominate communities and destroy them. There are many communities around the world who are getting destroyed because of the illegal trades around the world. So we are fighting it, we're trying to fight it, we're trying to suppress the ego by suppressing these people and these groups. However, you see how dangerous they can become.
So that's why Imam is choosing these
So
three.
if you choose these three, you can see a very broad social perspective of an arsenal being used against the development of humanity. And if we can suppress those three within us, if we can suppress the ego within us,
Yeah.
these three weapons will not be effective anymore. It is like having a gun without bullets. the most you're going to do is
if you
throw
could
it at
suppress
someone.
the ego, even you can use these three weapons
Of
in
course.
order to make your way faster.
No,
towards
you
hammer.
can't. You can't. Because
can't?
no, because they won't be weapons anymore. See, power in the lack of exercise against people is not power anymore. It's togetherness.
Uh-huh.
I don't have power over you if you and I are agreeing to do something together.
So you mean that power itself
Power
has got
itself-
a negative meaning, a negative sense
Power
inside it.
For me to exercise power means I have to use some kind
To know how-
of force over everything else to make something happen. But if me and you are in agreement, or a whole community is in agreement to do something together, there is no reason to. No government. Let's take Canada as an example. In Canada, they celebrate Christmas for the most part. It's a very multicultural country, beautiful country. But people come together. It's a celebratory moment. Most people celebrate Christmas, and they enjoy it. But there's no power that says if you don't put a Christmas tree in your house, then you're going to be fined a certain amount, right?
Yeah.
Yet many people do it. Many people. So everybody's together and having this beautiful Christmas function going on, right? There's no power required. But now, if the government says we are a Christian country,
So you have to.
You have to celebrate
make
Christmas.
it just like a power.
they make it a
Use
power,
your power.
then I will abide by that because I am, abiding by the laws of the country, but I'm not willingly abiding by the laws of the country. So the
Great
power is
idea.
influencing me.
That was a great description about these three words. I haven't ever thought about it just in this way, to be honest with you. By the absence of ego and by suppressing the ego, the meaning of power, wealth, and authority will definitely change. And they are not going to be power anymore.
I'll just
They are
give you a
going to be
small, a very small thing, wealth,
Yeah.
beautiful thing you brought up. You will not have wealth if you are working towards betterness. Because what's the value of wealth? What is the value of me being wealthy if I am not contributing my wealth for the betterment? To do what with? At the end of the day, we die. We know that for a fact.
Yeah.
No amount of money gives you a card from God that says, okay, this person doesn't need to die anymore because he has this much money, or this person doesn't need to die because she's on the Forbes list of the billionaires. No, everybody dies. So why are we amassing these amounts of money? What is the purpose? It can only be egoistic because there's no purpose. Look, there's no purpose in amassing $200 billion or $20 billion. It's just for our life's sakes, there's nothing you cannot do almost with 20 billion that you cannot do with 200 billion.
Yeah.
Yet people strive to get to the 200 billion mark, right?
Yeah.
So what is the purpose of that? It cannot be good.
It
cannot
it's
be
only,
good.
It's only because of the ego.
Exactly. So all of these conditions are weapons of the ego. And when you understand how each of these three break down to become weapons of the ego, because if you're using your wealth for good, you're always poor,
Yeah.
right? You're always poorer.
You're
because
always just
you-
because
yeah,
you know how you
You're
want to have
spreading.
sympathy with the others. You want to.
you don't have financial wealth. You have a community,
Community,
that
yeah.
is sharing your financial advancements and goals. So your wealth is not yours. You have a personal
You
obligation.
just distribute your wealth
You have a
among all
personal obligation to ensure that as many people in the world who need a helping hand that you can reach out to, you are giving that helping hand, whether it's through knowledge or through food or through schoolings or whatever it is that you're doing, you are attempting to do those things. You're not thinking about dollar amounts
increasing
going up.
and just massing
You are
more
not
money.
thinking about that.
Yeah.
You see?
That's so great.
They're
so
all
beautiful.
weapons. They're all dangerous.
Very, very beautiful. And actually, talking about this topic and between your speeches and your words, I was thinking of a Quranic verse which says, "Inna al-insana la yatgha." Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna al-insana la yatgha an ra'ahu istaghna. If the person finds himself powerful and free of the others, he doesn't need other people anymore, then he will oppress the others. He will say that I am ana rabbukum al-a'la, I'm your greatest almighty God. So I think that there's a great close connection between this quote and this Quranic verse, and it exactly shows the same thing but in other words. How do you think about it?
Well, To me, it's not even strange that you bring it up, because when you, it doesn't have to be Imam Ali. If you read anybody who is, according to our life standards of the world, this person's going in the right direction, this person's doing good in life, they're automatically going to be in sync with the Quran. Because within the Quran, you cannot find negative advice or quotations or anything that you can pull out and say the Quran is pushing to on the ego path, right? It is pushing on the opposite path. Many people read it the wrong way. Many people translate it or even understand it or explain it the wrong way. That's understandable, and I know that shortage. But the thing is, it is not wrong in essence if you understand it correctly and without the politics that people are trying to put into it. So here you have a person who is very in tune with the Quran, very in tune with the Quran. So there's absolutely no reason for me to think that this verse was not in the mind of the Imam when he was mentioning the 3 weapons that he mentioned. I'm sure that within the Quran, as you said, you will find those 3 weapons. God speaks about money in a negative and derogatory manner in the Quran. God speaks about authority, and God speaks about power. All those 3 in the Quran are warned. Are warned. They're not, you know, you don't get a gift. You don't get a trophy for getting in the Quran. You don't get a trophy for being rich.
It doesn't persuade people to just go
in the
become
Quran,
wealthy.
in the Quran, it mostly says, be careful when you're rich, because if you don't help and you don't do that, you're not going the right way. Be careful when you're in power, because there's great, you know, with authority comes great responsibility, the Quran says. So it's always a warning sign against wealth, authority, power, all the time. And here you have warning signs against the same things. They're very in tune with each other. That's how I feel about it.
And actually, just joining these 2 things together, although they are all divine, and in the belief of Shia Muslims, Imam Ali alayhi salam is the Caliph of Almighty God on earth, and the Holy Prophet Muhammad's successor, but talking and speaking for those who don't believe in God, even though if they don't believe in God, knowing this, they will just get this idea that by power, by wealth, and by authority, one who has not suppressed his ego is going to oppress the others, is going to be tyrant, is going to do all bad things just in order to make himself or make his ego more satisfied. So that's why Commander of Faithful Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam says and brings these 3 things into a category of the weapons, as you just mentioned, as the weapons of the ego. And I'm so grateful for this topic. I think that we still have 1 or 2 minutes for the to the end.
I want to say something about what you just said.
1 minute, yeah.
If you read the Imam and you don't believe in God, you will still be forced to accept that what he says is logical. And that logic that you will be forced to accept, whether you want to disagree with his religion or not, will lead you in a better life. It will really lead you to a better life. You don't have to believe in God to start on the path to God.
And this is the beauty
you
of
will
the
reach God at the end.
of Commander of Faithful.
You start here, and believe me, one day you will reach God.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And it's exactly great, and I'm so happy for having this conversation with you. And inshallah, in the next episode, we're going go more through the other chapters, and we'll learn more, inshallah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, respected viewers, for tuning in, and don't forget to share your ideas with us. Inshallah, send us your ideas about this topic, and don't miss the next episode tomorrow. Have a great night, and goodbye. Thank you so much.